Hello and welcome to the Profitable Coach Podcast. I'm your host, Kimberly Rich, and as the founder of the Bold Life Movement and a fellow coach for more than 7 years, I know the challenges that many of you face when launching or growing your coaching business. And I'm here to pull back the curtain on the coaching industry and help you overcome roadblocks to make the impact you were born to make. Each week, I'll be interviewing successful coaches from every corner of the industry to share exactly how they have managed to generate massive impact and income. From strategy to psychology, we cover it all. This show is presented to you by Transformation Academy, a global marketplace of courses and coaching certifications. So whether you are already part of our epic community or you're brand new to this show, if you're ready to learn what it takes to turn your passion for service into a profitable business, then keep listening. You are in the right place.
Welcome back to the Profitable Coach Podcast. This is episode number 34 with Bishop Reid. And today we're talking about how Bishop realized that regulating one's nervous system could be the most important thing that you do when you're growing your business. She currently helps visionaries and creatives to work through the somatic blocks that we so often think are mental and that keep us from growing and from really stepping into our potential as coaches, as leaders, and as entrepreneurs. So if you feel like there are still things inside your business that are holding you back, that are keeping you stuck, then pay attention, because this conversation today could be the thing that changes it all. So without further ado, please welcome the one and only Bishop Reid. Welcome back to the Profitable Coach Podcast. I have with me today my dear friend, Bishop Reid. Bishop, thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited.
Yeah, I'm really excited because Bishop is leading a really nourishing, beautiful life down in Guatemala right now. And so we've been attempting to find the most optimal internet in her digital nomad life.
Yes.
So I'm so happy we're making it work today.
Me too. And fingers crossed for the internet gods to support us on this journey today.
A little behind the scenes of leading a work from home coaching business. Like, this is something that you will inevitably run into, most likely. So before we dive in, Bishop, do me a favor. Let people know how coaching came into your world initially and what was the catalyst for deciding that this was a path you wanted to walk down.
The first thing that's coming is I don't think I really ever decided that I'm going to be a coach. I actually fought it quite a bit.
I can relate.
But yeah, it really started in Brazil after I quit my corporate job, when I was very into meditation. And I just started holding 30-minute meditations in the morning for in this community retreat center that I was staying at and helping them with their marketing. And I loved it. And it was a way for me to feel of service and start using my voice and being more in the front of things versus in the behind the scenes of the marketing. Because I had always been supporting other people's visions and ideas through marketing. And it was my first time just holding the meditation of, I'm holding this space. So that felt incredible. And I did that for a while. And then I went back to the US after a whole slew of, a whole journey of my own healing, getting diagnosed with cancer, having a total dark night of the soul, and being confused about what I was doing, what my purpose was. And that introduced me to breathwork. And breathwork really helped me come into my facilitation. It was just from the beginning, it was like a yes. And from there, I launched my company and my first ever group course called Her Center. And it was a breathwork and mindfulness course for women. And that's really where it all began in 2020.
Wow. So one of the things that I want to highlight is your path to facilitation and to coaching sort of started a couple steps ahead of what traditionally people do, which is start with one-on-one and then move into group work, where you, by
no one's intentional decision sort of started in a group container. If you could go back and do it differently, would you?
No, because the group was something that felt so alive for me. It was so energizing. And this is also how I approach the work that I do with my clients. There is no one way. There is, and this might go against people in the coaching space, but I do not believe in a formula. Like, it just does not exist. And while there are approaches and ways that have worked for people, I believe, and this is why I'm a somatic based coach, that your body, your energy is always showing you the directions and where to lean in. And so the group was so energizing for me starting out. And I had some immediate success. I had my first ever, it was filled, sold out 10K launch. And it was amazing because I was so in integrity with what I was doing. And to be honest, I think I was too scared to hold a process for one person. People were asking me about breathwork and about mental health at that time too. And I knew that it was time for me to more step into a teacher role. And at that time, I was not saying that I was a coach. I was like, look, I have a course and I'm going to share some tools on breathwork and mindfulness. And you guys are going to show up with your wisdom. And also I'm going to learn from you.
Yeah.
So that's how it started. Yeah.
Yeah. Have you evolved your offerings now to include one-on-one?
Yeah, for sure. So, last year was the year of one-on-ones. I actually got a bit tired of groups, and I was wanting to hold a more intimate deep dive into one-on-ones. And I also saw sustainably that financially as well, that was going to really help my business too. And so I started letting the fear of like holding a space for a one-to-one person, a process. I'm like, okay, it's time to meet this. It's time to lean into it. So yeah, I do. I have a 3 month, but mostly 6 month one-to-one space called Expansion. And this is it's a somatic creative and growth container where I work with people's nervous systems, emotional body, and help them kind of become more visible with what they're creating and bringing into the world, mostly for space holders.
I love it. So just to kind of highlight what it is that Bishop's saying, some of the things we workshop a lot inside our programs at TA, especially Quantum Leap and Coaching Competence Accelerator, is identifying like what is the result that our ideal client really wants and how can we offer the result in our marketing and then deliver the vehicle inside the container. So sell them what they want, give them what they need. And I'm hearing that your result is helping visionaries, creatives, healers to really step into their position in the industry and be more visible and kind of push beyond whatever blocks are keeping them from doing that. And the vehicle is your somatic healing practices. Is that accurate?
Yeah, that's very similar. Yeah.
Okay, so tell me a time in your business when maybe it was a launch, maybe it was just like a more or a less intense offering that you made, but something where you weren't as clear on the result that you were providing, or maybe you weren't as in integrity with yourself and you got crickets. I love to highlight people's roadblocks and the things that they've had to overcome in their business as well, just to normalize it.
So there was one course that it was going to be a hybrid coaching course of like half one-to-one and half group. And it was called Integrate. And it was all about the nervous system and nervous system regulation. And looking back, I was so excited about it because I'm like, this is it. Like, this is it. But what I see now is that I was selling the tools and not really as connecting with the issues. And you know, when you're so into your work, when I'm so into what I do, I get really lost in like the nerding out about it and really kind of forget like where people are And that's such a skill that I constantly see also with my clients of like, okay, yes, offer what feels good for you. And what is your ability to actually meet your clients where they are? Like not where you are, where they are. So that was something where I would say I was expecting like a big launch for that. I'm like, the world needs this. Like this is going to be revolutionary. And I had one person enter the container. And that one person actually I still work with and ended up being probably the foundation of my income for the next 2 years. So that was cool.
Wow.
So I wouldn't quite call it a fail.
Yeah. I mean the reality is
Pausing
that
because of the internet, maybe.
Oh no, you're good. I got you. Yeah, one of the things that I always tell my clients is failure is only feedback. So even if you have quote unquote only one person join, or maybe no one join, well, what did we learn about how we were positioning the offering? Like you said, was I just selling something that I was so excited about and the way that we do it, I'm so passionate about, but really no one really cares about the way, they only care about the what. And I need to find the intersection of where I'm really jazzed and what I'm really good at as a coach, and what are people willing to get their credit card out for? What are they already aware enough about their needs that they're saying, yes, I want to hire someone to help me with this. I know that that's what I need.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think I continue to learn so much about that, about what I think people want versus what they really want. But also being very clear about like who I want to be for as well, and not just like marketing to those that I think I should, but really like the willingness to be me and see who that brings in. But yeah, like I said, that one client that joined was the backbone of like most of my business the last 2 years. So it's like
amazing.
One person, 0 people. There's something also you said that I want to say about when nobody shows up, because I've seen this quite a bit with some of my clients, and sometimes it is positioning, but not always. I think it's also this ability to keep showing up, because I see sometimes people launch something and they're like, oh, it didn't work. And it's like, this is your first time.
Mm-hmm.
Like you were just teaching your audience that like who you are now and how to interact with you. Like try again. And yes, maybe some tweaks, but like keep showing up. I had one client that was like 4 launches and she just tweaked a few things, but she had like a 40K launch in her 4th time, where she had three launches that were nothing. And when she asked the people in the group, they were like, yeah, I just needed time. Like I've been following you for a while and finally it was the time. And it's like, keep going.
Yeah. I mean, one of my mentors, she literally sells every single day, and she has no shame around it, because she's like, it's my prerogative as your potential mentor to make sure you know that I'm here for you. You know how to work with me if that interests you. And I make it as easy and as fun as possible. I think we overcomplicate it.
Mm-hmm.
I want to hear more about how Bishop shows up in her business authentically, and maybe a time when you weren't letting a certain aspect of your personality come through because there was still some desire to like appeal to the masses.
Well, I can tell you that actually quite recently, I was really not claiming the part of me that was really freaking good at marketing and sales. Like I kind of hid the business stuff for a while. One thing I'm really good at is copywriting. And I was always afraid to market that because I loved so much the somatic and nervous system and emotional facilitation that brought people to such a deep and healing place that I'm like, no, I won't own the business part until about this last year when I'm like, nah, this is something that I'm really good at. And I also didn't think it belonged. Like I didn't know that. I thought I had to choose one, either a business coach or a more of like a healing, a somatic coach. I didn't know that I could marry them both until I got permission from seeing somebody else marry things that didn't really make sense. I'm like, that's their unique sauce, right?
Exactly.
So I wasn't owning that. I wasn't owning that for a while, and actually kind of hiding it even until recently. So the way I show up now in my business is just really, like, I want to say the word human. Like I try to be as human as possible. Like not, I know some coaches market like this of like, I've got it figured out. I have the formula. Here it is. And I will just never market myself like that because I don't know. And I believe the truth is that there is no, one size fits all. Like I'm constantly learning and in the muck of it. And I think what worked for me might not always work for someone else. So the way I really guide people is to really follow this inner wisdom, not the inner wisdom of their survival responses, but the inner wisdom of this deep knowing inside of them. So that to me is what it means to show up authentically, of just being real, of where I'm at and what I'm still struggling with also, but owning also what I know.
The funny part about that is you living by your own inner guidance, your own intuition, and inviting other people to do the same is still kind of a formula. It's like live by your own your own inner compass. Like, sure, study the strategies, study the tactics, stay inspired, like have expanders in your life, whether that's mentors or people you follow on social media. But ultimately, like you said, what worked for me, what worked for Joelle and Natalie, the founders of TA, isn't necessarily what is going to work for all of our clients and customers. And being open to the messy roller coaster ride that is building a business, let alone a coaching business.
Yes. And online, because the landscape, what worked for me 3 years ago, not working now. So it's also constantly adjusting that and being really honest. You know, I have clients that come to me, they're like, okay, help me, build what you're building on social media and this. And I'm like, guys, it is, yes, get more visible. That is something big that I coach. And also, people just posting a post, like saying, hey, announcing, hey, I have a program, or hey, I'm offering this. It's not enough anymore.
Yeah.
And so, 3 years ago, 4 years ago, maybe it was, but today, no. So it's this ability to also get creative.
Let's talk about that. So one of the things I really like to do on these episodes is give people some really practical advice of what has not worked, what is currently working, and what might not work next week or by the time you listen to this episode, because it is constantly evolving. So what are some things that you're currently doing to be more visible and that you're advising your clients to do?
So the biggest thing that I'm working with right now is amplification through leveraging your network. And that is really about, I see so many people trying to just like figure it out by themselves and do these kinds of different things to go viral, and that's great. Yes, going viral can help. Obviously, you're getting in front of more faces, but that doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to have a profitable business. And this is something very specifically what I've done recently. I just launched a big women's summit for entrepreneurs and in Portugal, and my co-creative partner and I have been very strategic about creating affiliates for this space. and creating a kind of collaboration with 6, 7, 8 people that are very in alignment with the space and have the audience that we are wanting to attract, that can support, and really making it easy for them to share and motivating for them to share. And not just a financial way, but also in an energetic way, like why this is important and sharing this bigger mission. And so this is what I mean by really leveraging others' networks and really including people in your creative process. Like, I found that people really want me to win.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
when they see that I'm launching something, they're like, yes, and they share it. And I feel the same for some of the people that I've been working with. It's like, yes, go. So it's really involving people in your process and creating more ease so that people can really share what you're saying, and what you're creating.
Yeah, I couldn't agree
This is
more.
a big one.
Like a couple days before we were recording this now, I posted on social media that I have a new book coming out, and the response from people helping me choose the cover of that book was way more engagement than any other posts that I've made for months. And I believe it's because people like to see you do things that they may have an inkling inside themselves that they want to do, but haven't or probably won't. And so they're like, go get it, girl. And they love to see you win. And then one other thing I just want to add is JVs is the bread and butter of how Transformation Academy grew to the size that it did. And I think that it's one of the most commonly overlooked opportunities for new coaches. People who have been in the game, they know I'm only as good as like my network and the reciprocity between my community and I. And so I love hearing that you've been leveraging affiliates for your summit. Tell me more about the summit. I've only experienced virtual summits, but it sounds like this is going to be in person.
Ooh. Yeah. So it's a 5-day in-person space in Alentejo in Portugal. And the reasoning behind it is because my co-creative partner and I were realizing and seeing how many hyper independent, it's for women, and this one in particular, women are trying to bring their workout into the world by themselves. They're trying to overcome all their blocks and their self-doubts, and maybe they have their coach, but they're really not leaning on each other. And we also realized that we were seeing the themes in both of our coaching businesses of how crippling self-doubt and burnout are. These two themes of self-doubt and burnout. And that we both work with these themes in different ways. I work on it more on a somatic and nervous system level, helping people kind of repattern their nervous system and work with fear in the body. But she works with it more in a limiting belief kind of way. She's a theta healer as well. And so we're like, the first half of this summit, let's get as many people as we can here and more hold space for to really get women to work with their fear and their anger. Because anger is something that is such a creative force. So we were seeing, and it's a big way to work with self-doubt. So let's get these women together and work on this. Have a day of silence, actually, because everyone is so freaking burnt out that they don't even have the space for creation to come through them of who they actually want to serve and the ideas. So, and then the second half is really about shared wisdom. I mean, some of the biggest leaps in my business has come from really learning from another woman that's not my coach, that is shared wisdom, and then she gives me feedback and reflects me. And I find it very rare that people actually know how to give someone feedback, and that can be like, hey, this doesn't land for me. And so it's really this kind of shared wisdom space, and really like amplification of each other. And I keep talking about my co-creative partner, Sophie, like both our businesses and in our personal lives, like expanded so much this last year, and we did a lot together. And it was really my first year creating projects, spaces, courses, not by myself. And it was so amplifying, not just monetarily, but like fulfilling. And so the intention is to get more people to start collaborating and co-creating more.
Oh, I love that. I mean, for me, Transformation Academy has been that because I had done it by myself for so long that I opted out of doing it at all during the pandemic. I had like one
Yeah.
program launch. And so when I was ready to start coaching again and TA came into my sphere, it was like a gift sent from heaven, and having a team to collaborate with and a community of incredible heart-centered coaches to teach and to learn from as well. It's just been so much better than doing it on your own.
Yeah. And more fun. Just so much more fun.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, this podcast is a great example. I get to keep interviewing people that I find inspiring so that we can add value to the community. It's just like one of my favorite things in the world. So I want to know, where do you see the business going over the next year? How far out do you map the trajectory of your coaching business?
So about twice a year, I look at the bigger picture and like what I want to create and where I see the bigger vision going. Sometimes I do that with my coach, and other times just kind of tapping back into it in small ways. But for the most part, I find that the small now always brings me a lot farther. I used to over focus on the big vision and like the bigness of what I was creating. It was overwhelming for my system, and I found it would freeze me. And I often I'm coming into this phase of my business and in my creative life that is really about cultivating so much presence that my body and is giving me like the next step. And I also find like looking back about the visions that I did create in the past, like that was so important. And like barely any of it happened. Like life took me in another direction, even more alignment that I didn't know about. And so I find it so energizing, and it's not the way most people actually do business. And I don't know, I'm trying something different, but I find it's very in integrity with where I am right now. So yeah, the short answer to your question, like about 2 to 3 times a year, I'll look at the kind of bigger vision of it, and it more takes like a daily, weekly listening, to be honest, of what's next.
Well, I love that you are staying on brand with what it is that you help people with, which is what would be the most nurturing to my system and allow me to be in the moment and in my business 100%. And that is taking it moment by moment and not getting energetically sucked out into the future and then feeling burdened by the millions of to-dos that must happen between now and the desired destination. So on that note, I'm noticing a really big influx in nervous system work in the coaching space. I'd love to hear how that became something that you focused on and why you think there is such a surge of nervous system regulation.
Yeah, I feel so passionate about this, especially to have it be in the coaching space. There is like a lot of power in mindset work, and I had a mindset coach as well that helped me so much. And it wasn't, if coaches are on the path of transformation and I'm helping people truly transform. That's my interpretation of most coaches. Like a coach wants to help someone transform something, change something. And the body is such like an important part of that. It's actually at the root of everything. And when I say the body, I mean the nervous system, the emotional imprints. Like, I mean, for me, I could mindset my way into so many things, but it didn't really lead to true lasting transformation because my nervous system was totally patterned in a way that I can convince myself of anything. Like my mind is brilliant in that way. But the nervous system is what really holds the trauma and the survival patterning that I could money mindset my way into, hopefully, like getting into I don't know, the amount of money I want to make. But if my nervous system at a foundational level doesn't feel safe to hold that amount of money, then it's not going to happen. Or if it does, it's going to come in and leave. And this is also why I find people, they make money, but they can't hold on to it because the nervous system doesn't feel safe in that yet. So yeah, as we know, as a lot of people know from Gabor Mate, like and Stephen Porges, like amazing people in the trauma space, the body is the one that remembers, and we can't override and not look at the body when we're talking about transformation.
I would love to go even deeper into why this is so powerful and actually how to make it appeal to people that need it but don't know that they need it. And so I'll just like put myself on the in the hot seat here. I've done a boatload of breath work. I used to live in Bali. You did breath work like 3 times a day. and I recognize that in my day-to-day, I resist the somatic stuff and I let my mind get carried away a lot. And so I think that I would be more likely to invest in someone that would help me with my limiting beliefs. Whereas I actually think like my highest self, if she was talking here, she'd be like, you need somatic help. But my human self is like, I don't have time for that. So how do you appeal to those people?
Yeah, that's such a big one. I don't have time for that.
Yeah. Yeah. So how do you appeal to people like that? How do you reach them, I should say?
I am not for people that haven't reached a point where they know if they don't work on their nervous system, then it means like big problems for their health. And I'm not in the business of convincing people why they should work with their nervous system. I do a little education on it. I think maybe there are other coaches out there, the somatic, that are more entry level into more teaching of why the body, but that's not who I'm for. I noticed that I'm already for people that know that they need to start turning towards their body more. They've already had some kind of something happen in their life that their body has screamed at them in some way, and they're like, something needs to change, but they don't know how yet.
Yeah.
And so, and I would even say I've had a client or two in the past that wanted to do the nervous system work.
Yeah.
But they weren't at a level yet where they were ready for it, because I hate to say this, but sometimes the pain isn't strong enough. Like sometimes people haven't gotten to that place where I have to do something differently. And sometimes it really takes that. And whether it's in a relationship where you realize, why am I attracting the same freaking pattern over and over again? I literally cannot do any more mindset work around this. Like something has to shift, or in the business sense. So that's a short-ish answer to your question of sometimes the pain isn't big enough.
I love that. I think that, man, I was just talking to a client on a coaching call yesterday about this, not needing to be the one to convince people. Like, it's okay to only be for people who are ready for change, because you're going to have a really hard time trying to persuade people why they need the type of work that you do if they're not ready, if they don't have enough leverage. And I can definitely remember times in my life where
I was very sick. It was super clear my body was telling me something. And I went and made the 3D shifts, that allowed my nervous system to be like, okay, now we're back on track. But I love the example that you gave about relationships, because I think that, just speaking very candidly, there's definitely a pattern in the types of relationships that I've had. And, as I get closer to 40, there's going to be a time sooner than later when I'm like, nah, no more. Like, no, I've read all the books. I've done all the affirmations. The best partner I've ever been in my life right now in this moment. And yet the pattern still persists and I'm the only common denominator. So like, what's left? Somatic work.
Yeah. 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 It really does take getting to that point sometimes, where listening to an interview the other day where this woman was saying, like, when you have reached a point where you are almost on your knees and you're like, I am done.
Mm-hmm.
I'm done. I'm just done. And that is the moment that something else becomes possible. And she said that God can begin. And I really look at the approach as God through the body. Like when all of your tactics and strategies, you literally cannot use them anymore. That is finally something else becomes possible. And I find I meet people that are on that level where they're like, nothing's working. I'm like, okay, great. Now you're ready. Yeah. But sometimes we need to exhaust those strategies. And I find that burnout is a big one for people, a big entry point for people, where they're like, I'm ready.
Yeah. Let's talk about that a little bit. Cause I do have the hallucination that a lot of new coaches can hit burnout pretty quickly because they're just trying to do all the things and be everywhere. So what are some of the initial steps that you take with new clients who come to you, still want to grow their business? They can't just like check out, but they're pretty much burnt out.
Yeah. This is such a huge topic right now. I'm actually going to be I haven't put it out yet, but I'm going to be giving a free 2-series workshop in partnership with another woman on this. Because it's so big. And not just new coaches, by the way. Like, I think new, old, like this is a constant theme because our collective nervous system is one of fight or flight.
Totally.
Of go, get it done, productive. Yeah. But what I would say is the first step is really about actually developing more somatic awareness of just having what I mean by that is more check-ins with your body throughout the day of pauses, even if it's like, it doesn't need to be like a 30-minute practice meditation. And it isn't meditation. It is checking in, setting an alarm on your phone, maybe creating kind of a habit of like every time you eat, like taking a minute or 2 minutes to just like place your hands on your body and just even ask, like, how am I? Mm-hmm. And letting your body tell you, how are you breathing? Does your body need anything right now? Do you need water? Do you need to eat? Sometimes I'm like, oh my God, I haven't eaten in hours, right? And so it's really developing this awareness more often throughout the day of how am I? And people have a lot of resistance to that because I think at the core, when you start asking more, you will start hearing more. And often it's very devastating, actually. Wow, I'm tired. I'm exhausted. I'm feeling sad. And so another part of the work is learning how to having more emotional capacity, because the more somatic awareness you have, the more you realize that your survival strategy of staying up here the whole time was protecting you from a lot of emotions. So that's a big part of the work as well. But I would say, creating little check-in points throughout the day just to ask how you are and ask how can I support your body, like really entering a conversation with your body. And really the first thing I do in the first month of working with people is really having people start to create and feel more resource, so that they can really have a list of all of the resources that help them feel more themselves and start implementing these more into their day so they can build a more resilient nervous system. So that's the beginning.
What are some examples of resources that you find really supportive for people?
So for me, it varies for different people. For me, the sun, stepping barefoot out into nature, like little bits throughout my day. I would also say having like a candle or essential oil when I'm working. Like a smell is the number one sense that bypasses the neocortex. So any stress that you're sensing, or when you're getting really overwhelmed and anxious, smelling something soothing and calming for your system bypasses the survival stuff and can really help center you. So smell is big. One of my biggest ones at the end of the day is bath time, like warm water.
I don't have a bath here,
yeah,
and it's been so noticeable.
Yeah, it's a big deal. And I get bath time isn't everyone's jam. But it's resources or anything that really connects you back to your senses, because the senses are your portal to presence. Because anytime we're feeling anxious or stressed or depressed, we're either in the past or in the future. So a lot of nervous system work is retraining your body for presence. So this is the foundation of it. Yeah.
I love that.
There's a lot there.
Yeah. Is there anything that you wish you had known when you were first starting out?
Yeah. Gosh, I feel a little bit of sadness coming up even tuning into this version of me, because I was constantly questioning myself, like all the time. And this is also what I help people with now, but I just wish I could have told her more. I knew more that, gosh, I had so much to share. And those first 2 years of me doing business, I pulled myself out of the game so much because I was questioning myself so much. And maybe that's what I needed, and it's all perfect in how it went. But yeah, it just, there was so much doubt there. And I wish I could have brought that and been more honest about that actually as well. Have known that I didn't have to pretend to be anything, or I didn't have to pretend that I knew what I was doing. Like in order for people to trust me, that in fact people trusted me because I was just being so honest. And again, this back to this like being human. So yeah, I wish I knew that earlier.
It brings tears to my eyes because I knew you then. So I can feel the tenderness for Bishop 4 years ago. And also I relate to that so heavily. I mean, I think that it's one of the biggest lessons that I've learned is to actually see myself as others see me, which is sometimes bigger than I see myself. Yeah. And the gift that is in that. So yeah, I think that you're not alone for sure. Is there anything else that you want to
smile? Yeah, I'm just smiling also because Kim, you were really the beginning, like really the very, very beginning of my journey of doing something different. And seeing you in Costa Rica in that one retreat, just seeing the kind of life and the desires that you had for yourself. And it really gave me permission. Like you were my first permission slip, really.
Literally making me cry.
Yeah.
The interesting thing that I'll share is that when I went to that retreat where I met Bishop, I was attending. I wasn't hosting. And I was there crying every day with everyone else, talking about my daddy issues and like my imposter syndrome and all the things. Like I wasn't this a perfect picture on a pedestal. And yet whatever authenticity it was that I shared gave Bishop the permission to go home and quit her job and to move to Brazil. And so I share that to encourage anyone who's listening to remember that you do not have to have it all figured out. And sometimes your messiness is the permission slip and the parts of you that you have forgotten other people still see. My glasses are fogging. Yes, I'm crying. So thank you for reflecting that back to me, Bish. That's so meaningful. Really appreciate that.
And I really have this vision of more coaches and space holders just bringing more truth, because there's so much BS out there. And I really see the most transformational spaces I have been in where when other people, coaches, facilitators, were just bringing more of what's actually happening.
Yeah, 100%. Where can we get more of you, Bishop? Where can people go follow you, learn more about your summit?
BishopReid.com is my website. I'm on Instagram a lot, but I'm doing a lot more with email, and so you can click and sign up for just to stay most connected with me, probably through email. And I have a lot of writings and personal shares on Substack, actually. So that would be a great place, more of my personal journey.
Yeah, Bishop's a beautiful writer, very inspired. Every time I see you share a piece of your writing, it encourages me to go sit at the computer and let that part of myself be expressed. Yay!
Can't wait to see this book too.
Oh, it's gonna be juicy. For anyone who is not already following me on Instagram at the Kimberly Rich, you can follow along on the new book journey. It's a pretty edgy approach to sales, but I think that it will shift the way that you feel about your offerings. So go check it out. Bish, I love you so much. Thank you for being here. I'm so grateful, and I can't wait to see you in real life again soon.
Yes, soon.
Thank you so much for tuning into episode 34. If you want to get access to any of the resources that we talked about on today's episode, or get more access to Bishop, then head over to theprofitablecoach.com/034. If you like this episode, do me a favor, hit subscribe, give us a review on your podcast app of choice. And if we're not already friends on Instagram, head over to @thekimberlyrich, where we can connect and I can get to know even more about how to help you grow your profitable coaching business. Sending you guys so much love, and I'll see you on next week's episode.